أخي جزاك الله خيرا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم نور قلوبنا بالعلم وزين أخلاقنا بالحلم وافتح بيننا وبين قومنا بالحق وأنت خير الفاتحين. ثم أما بعد. Thank you for the opportunity for the second time to meet virtually with my respected brothers and sisters in Carl Station. And of course, this is an online program, so everybody is more than welcome to join. And I'm now posting this event live on my personal Facebook account. The plan actually for today is to have a question and answer. And fortunately, the sister, the other coordinator, actually already sent me the questions. I would assume that everybody can see my screen here. Am I correct, Abdurrahman?
Yes, we can see.
Right. So let's go in order. Question number one: what is the ruling on paying interest on an automobile that is used for employment? To be honest, I did not understand the question very well, so I would just put it in hold until I get some verification from the inquirer himself. If he or she is online, or you know who is that inquirer is, please verify with him and let me know. I'll move on to the next question. Can you buy a car using financing loan with 0 interest for 60 months? In order for us to understand, why the answer is yes or why the answer is no, we need to know how does the finance system actually, work in the U.S. In most cases, there is a finance company or a third party, that gets involved in financing cars and financing vehicles, and it goes as follows. Once you show your interest in buying a car, the car dealership itself would refer your case or your offer to a bank or to a credit card company, or lending institute, finance institute, call it whatever you want. They check your credit. They make sure that you are financially okay, you can proceed with this transaction. They check your income, your credit scores, your employment history, and on, just to make sure that you qualify for that amount of money. And they pay the price of that car on your behalf to the car dealership. Now, one of the offers is to get what is called 0 APR, annual percentage rate. Zero, like from a fiqh perspective, means that this is an interest-free loan for a certain period of time. According to the question here, it's for 60 months, right? So it means that if you commit to pay your monthly payment for 60 consecutive months, there will be no consequences. You don't have to pay interest. Now, this is one offer. The other offer actually is that there is a certain APR added from day one. Like when they offer you 1%, 2%, 3.5% APR, it means clearly that from day one you cannot avoid interest. So in the second scenario, interest is unavoidable. You have to pay it anyway. In the first scenario, it means clearly fiqh-wise again that interest is avoidable. Are they having the same fiqh ruling? The answer is no. When you know from day one that you cannot avoid interest, you are getting involved in an interest-bearing loan from day one. This is of course prohibited unless necessity is proven. Unless there is a necessity. In some cases, maybe like for this situation, desperate need, someone wants to borrow money with interest, like to buy food or to survive or to pay for the rent of his house, or to do like a surgery, something that's really necessary. That's a different discussion. But the default rule is that borrowing money with interest is prohibited. And according to the terminology of our fuqaha, that's called haramun li dhatihi, prohibited for itself. This is something prohibited for itself. Why? Because riba is unavoidable. Now, when the offer here is 0 APR, this is haramun li ghayri. This is prohibited for other causes. Why prohibited for other causes? Yes, it is an interest-free loan, but if you default, if you did not pay on time, if the 60 months already passed and you defaulted in paying the principal, there will be consequences. You have to pay interest. So this is not a pure 100% interest-free loan or qardun hasan. No, it's not. There is a stipulated, there is a conditional stipulated riba. If and only if you pay on time, there is no interest. If you do not pay on time, if you default, then you have to pay interest. So fiqh-wise, they are not the same. The first offer, which is zero APR, basically is prohibited, okay? But it is prohibited for other causes. That's haramun li ghayri. And it is less prohibited than the second scenario. Why it is less prohibited than the second scenario? Because riba is avoidable. There is a good possibility, especially if you know your financial capability very well, for fact, inshallah, that you can commit to this payment for 60 months with no default. Then the 60 months will pass and you will not pay any interest. So you ended up borrowing money with zero interest, paying off the principal. There is no riba involved. Why it is still haramun li ghayrihi, prohibited for other causes? Because the possibility of paying interest is there. Possibility. What if you did not pay on time? And on the other hand, you show your consent from day one that yes, I am willing to pay interest in case of default. And you as a practicing Muslim, you are not supposed to show your consent or to give your consent, your approval to pay interest. Long story short, as they say, if the offer here for Muslims in the US, if the offer is zero APR, okay, then it is okay to go with this, with this offer, as long as you are almost positive that you can commit to paying the monthly payment. Going with zero APR is permissible, is allowable, as long as you are almost positive that you can commit to the monthly payment. If the offer is certain APR, 1, 2, more or less percent, then this is haram. I mean, you cannot, entertain this option to start with. Okay, moving on. Assalamu alaikum. Here in the US, I have not seen halal sign on the regular bread, and everyday groceries. Also, in a lot of other things that we buy, like donuts, cakes, we do not know which ingredient is haram. Okay, is it allowed to eat such products without maybe seeing halal sign? What should we do in this instance? Kindly advise, JazakAllah. Okay. Although this is not a a finance related issue, but let me answer it. Should I skip it, Abdul Rahman, or just answer it?
I mean, if you have the answer, might as well share. But also, there looks like there's a question next to it that is kind of related. So maybe once you answer this, you can also answer that.
Okay. Here is the answer. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَيُحِلُّ لَهُمُ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَيُحَرِّمُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْخَبَائِثِ. And Allah permits for them whatever is tayyib, is permissible, is healthy, is pure and not najis. This is like all these different translations are included in the word tayyibat. Okay, the food is tayyib does not necessarily mean delicious only. No, tayyib means pure, tayyib means tahir, tayyib means healthy. Okay, and of course halal, right? So this is the default rule that anything is halal by default unless otherwise proven. Now, when it comes to Muslims living in the US having unlimited options when you go shopping to any of the retail stores, like you go to Walmart or to Sam's Club, you name it. Sometimes, wallah, you get confused from the different options that you have for the same product. You want to buy cheese. You have unlimited amount of options. How to keep it simple? Just make sure that the final product that you want to consume is a halal one. Make sure you do not buy any pork product. You do not buy any liquor product. What you buy is cheese, as simple as that. Now, when it comes to the small, percentage of ingredients involved, this is actually the gray area that a lot of people disagree on its status. What if it is proven that such and such ingredient that does not form more than 0.5%? or 1%, okay, coming from haram source. I don't want to mention exact names. I mean, purposely I want to just keep it, as simple, as general as is. Certain ingredients that you do not feel comfortable consuming it, but that ingredient does not form more than maybe 0.5%, maybe not more than 1%, and you are almost positive that this ingredient is not halal. Is not halal. What is the status of consuming the final product? Number one, the fuqaha said, النادر لا حكم له. النادر لا حكم له. Whatever is minute or very, very insignificant or very trivial, the fiqh ruling should not be built or based on it. So let's say, for example, that 99.9% of the final product, which is cheese, is halal cheese, and there is 0.5% haram ingredient included. You should not pass a fatwa based on the 0.5%. You should pass a fatwa that this is cheese, this is jubn, and it is halal, right? Because the cheese forms more than 99% of the product. So this is the exact meaning of an-nadiru la hukma lahu. Number two, I'm not aware of any disagreement. I'm not aware of any disagreement that al-istihala, or the chemical transformation, does affect the status of the food. What does this mean? What is the status of drinking wine? Drinking wine is haram. Okay, what is the initial, or the raw material of wine? It is grape, inab. Is that correct? Consuming inab is halal, but because inab has been transformed to something else and became intoxicating, beverage, it became haram. So regardless of the original ingredient, what should we consider is the final product? So applying this here, even if you are 100% positive that particular preservative, 0.5% or 1%, came from pork, right? Once the final product is ready for you to consume, after chemical transformation, there is no smell, there is no taste, there is no color of any prohibited ingredients, right? This is the chemical transformation, al-istihala. And based on the ruling of al-istihala, what you care about again is the final product, not the initial product. Always remember, grape versus wine. Grape is permissible, drinking wine is haram. Why grape is permissible? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it permissible. Why drinking wine is haram? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it haram. Although wine is made out of grape, but the final product actually is not a grape anymore, right? And in our example here, the final product is not pork product anymore. So this is the second reason behind permitting it. And the third reason is that al-mashaqqatu tajlibu at-taysir. Hardship brings ease. This is a fiqh maxim. This is qa'idatun fiqhiyya. Al-mashaqqatu tajlibu at-taysir. Just imagine that what if you decide one day to pick up the phone and to call the 1-800 number customer service for every single product, and you stay on the phone maybe 10-15 minutes, and then talk to a live agent and to verify what kind of ingredients, what does where did this gelatin came from? Is it like from cows or from you just keep asking until you find out exactly about that particular product. It's gonna take you forever. And if you're gonna do the same job with every single product you want to buy, you're gonna spend hours and hours just to verify how permissible a certain product is. So because of those three different reasons, my recommendation is that do not even pay attention to the little ingredients. Just focus on the final product. What are you putting on the table? Is it cheese? Is it milk? Is it jam? Is it butter? Whatever the product might be, as long as the final product is halal, and there is no indication, there is no smell, there is no color of any prohibited ingredient that was involved in the past, Okay, for processing purposes, it means that the chemical transformation is a complete one, and the final product actually is still halal, regardless of what happened during the processing of the product. Moving on, is it
So
halal?
next,
Yes, Abdurrahman.
next to that, there was another question about working as a delivery driver for delivering products that one may consider harm. I don't know if you want to address that.
Sure. Is it permissible to be a DoorDash driver knowing very well someone ordered alcohol? What should we do if there is no other source of income? When it comes to jobs and careers, there is a default rule and there is an exception. Default rule is that you should focus on whatever is halal job, whatever is halal, career, 100%, not only 99%. But in the real life, especially for Muslims living outside the Muslim world, in the real life, it might be hard to find a job. I mean, forget about delivery and food, and even if you work for a oil and gas company, you know for a fact that oil and gas company does have haram investment, does borrow money with interest, right? Sometimes you work as an IT, okay, in a company, and you have to process like certain transactions or get involved in programming or doing some technical work, and you know for a fact that that program or the software that you are developing will be utilized in a haram way, like for processing interest or any kind of haram transaction. My point here is that in the real life, it's really hard to find a straightforward, pure job that does not involve any haram in it, right? By any chance, if you are not in desperate need for that haram job, okay, or mixed job, and you can find something else, then you have to quit right away and just go with the halal option. Even if the payment or the income of the halal job is less than a little bit, that would be fine in order for you to preserve your deen and to care about your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When it comes to delivery as a service is permissible. You are not working as a delivery man for a liquor store. You are not, right? You are just like a freelancer. Okay, you provide delivery service for whosoever asks for it. And in some cases you deliver halal food, sometimes you deliver mixed food, sometimes you deliver haram food. The job that you provide itself is a permissible one, is a permissible one. And here in this land, in this country, you cannot ask your customer what kind of food you want me to deliver, or you cannot say no, I'm not going to deliver this because it does have haram in it. So take the job if you need it. If you find anything else that is more halal, then definitely you should quit this one and go with the more halal one. But if you are in need for it and you are not working exclusively for a haram business as a delivery person, then your job is halal. It's always recommended to increase your sadaqah, your donation for the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the intention of just disposing or getting rid of any haram money that might be earned intentionally or unintentionally. Is it halal to buy a house? Is it halal to buy a house or car? Regular bank procedures. Have been seeing this a lot among Muslims. I'm not sure if someone gave a fatwa on that. What we believe in, and by we I refer to our fiqh council, the Assembly of Muslim Jurists of America, Majma' Fuqaha al-Sharia al-America, in which I'm a member in its resident fatwa committee. What we believe in is that mortgaging a house traditionally, conventionally, with regular traditional banks is not allowed, because this is a straightforward interest-bearing transaction. However, I think 25 years ago, one of the most prominent scholars, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve him and give him long life, Sheikh Yusuf al-Qaradawi, used to come to the US, and he was asked this question several years, okay, in the past. In his last visit to the US, I think it was back in 1990, something 95, 97, Allahu Alam, he changed his mind. He used to say that mortgaging a house is prohibited, mortgaging a house is prohibited. And then in his last visit, he changed his mind and he said, if you are looking for a house for residential purposes, not for commercial purposes, and there is no Islamic alternative, then you can go ahead and purchase your house or finance a house traditionally, but you have to limit yourself to residential purposes, not for commercial purposes. With all due respect, we as a fiqh council here, we disagree with the fatwa because the base or the evidence of this fatwa is not, strong enough to make a case that breaks the well-established ruling of riba, that riba is prohibited anytime, anywhere, whether you live in a Muslim society or in a non-Muslim society. Riba is prohibited. Riba is prohibited. This is from one side. From the other side, the alternative is there. Okay, if you are unable to purchase a house, you can rent a house, and what you need desperately, what is called necessity here, is to find a place to live in. But you do not have to own that place. That's the confusion that some people fall in. Okay, owning a house is different than living in a house. What you need desperately, what you cannot live without, is living without a house. You need to find like a place to live in. As long as you can afford renting a house, then your need is fulfilled. Your need of finding a place to live in, safe and secure enough for yourself, for your spouse, for your family members, then your need actually has been responded to, has been fulfilled. So there is no desperate need for you to own a house. Some people argue that by saying, okay, when I rent, I do not own anything. When I buy, I make equity. After 20, 25 years, I become the owner of the house. Well, this is absolutely correct, but we are not discussing the feasibility of your options. We are discussing the permissibility of your options. We are not discussing the feasibility, which one is more feasible, which one is more profitable, which one is a long-term investment. Is it renting or buying? This is out of the question. What you are questioning here and talking about is the fiqh ruling, is the status of buying a house. See? So the default rule is that mortgaging a house is impermissible. However, there is a fatwa issued by Sheikh Yusuf al-Qaradawi, and this fatwa has been adopted by the sister organization of AMJA called the European Council of Fatwa and Research. European Council, المجلس الأوروبي للإفتاء والبحوث. They adopt otherwise, that purchasing a house via conventional mortgage for residential purposes is permissible as long as there is no Islamic alternative. Nowadays, as of 2020 here, 2020 in the USA, there are no pure halal 100% Islamic mortgage companies. However, there are some attempts here or there that are, up to certain limit. Some of them, not all of them, would be halal enough for you to deal with. So instead of falling in an explicit 100% haram riba based, maybe 60-70% halal. When it comes to transactions and finance, it doesn't have to be white or black. Okay, there could be some gray area. So to answer your question, yes, there is a fatwa that mortgaging a house traditionally through like mortgage companies is permissible for residential purposes. This is the fatwa of the other organization, the European Council of Research and Fatwa. And with all due respect, we disagree as AMJA, as the Assembly of Muslim Jurists of America. We disagree with this fatwa. We do not believe that purchasing a house is permissible, providing that the Islamic alternative up to a certain limit is available for Muslims in the US. So do not mortgage a house, because mortgaging a house is prohibited. The next question, what is the ruling on paying interest on a residential home? I think This is just like a repetition of the previous question. Okay, I mean, once you commit to once you sign a mortgage agreement, then you have to pay interest. But is your decision haram or halal? No, your decision is wrong, and you committed the sin by dealing with interest. Okay, can you please let us know, are there any other 100% halal financing companies in the US other than Guidance Residential? Well, first of all, Guidance Residential is not 100% halal option. Guidance Residential is not 100% halal option. There is nothing in the US, to my knowledge, called 100% halal option. Okay, there is halal enough, there is allowable enough, with some glitches, with some violations in the contract, but there is no pure 100% halal Islamic mortgage in the US, to my knowledge. Number two, if you refer to the declaration of AMJA, our fiqh council, back in 2014, I think, we did actually spend a lot of time. We invested a lot of time and effort in studying this particular topic on a scholarly level, and we have conducted an imams conference for this particular issue. We brought the people in charge, like the top executives of those Islamic mortgage companies in the US, and their Sharia advisors. They submitted papers, we submitted papers, we discussed the issue with them, and then we met as a resident fatwa committee for 2 consecutive days, like few weeks or few months after the conference, and we came up with a conclusion. The conclusion actually is posted on our website. You can Google it. Just Google AMJA, 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 Islamic mortgage companies. Okay, and you will see the declaration. Based on AMJA position, Guidance Residential is reasonable enough for those who want to mortgage homes. This is the first option for you. There's another option called Amin Housing. Amin Housing actually is not a big size company. It does not deal in the secondary market. Their financial capability is very limited. It's headquartered in California, so they serve like a very local community in California. It's not a service for everybody in the US, unlike those big companies like Guidance and Devon Bank and University Islamic Financial. Those companies actually serve Muslims, I would say, nationwide, or like at least in a good number of states in the US. So according to AMJA, Guidance Residential is a good option for those who want to mortgage a house for residential purposes, not for commercial purposes. And then after that, maybe you can, like if Guidance is not available for some reason, then you can go with the University Islamic Financial. Okay, they do have a lot of glitches in their contract, whether the Murabaha one or the Ijara one, a lot of violations, a lot of glitches in the agreement. So if you want to go on order Guidance Residential, and then if Guidance is not available for some reason, or you disqualify, or then you can go with the University Islamic Financial. If not, then you can go with the Devon Bank. Devon Bank, Devon, D-E-V-O-N, Devon Bank. Devon Bank should come number 3 nowadays. According to AMJA declaration, the other 2 companies, which is Ijara Loan and La Riba. Ijara Loan and La Riba. None of them is a Sharia compliant. Ijara Loan is absolutely not a Sharia compliant. La Riba is absolutely not a Sharia compliant. They both are not even options to start with. And if you mortgage your house with Chase or with La Riba, honestly, I do not see any difference between the 2. If you mortgage your house with Bank of America or with Ijara Loan, it's absolutely the same. Is it necessary to deal with Islamic finance companies even if their customer service is terrible? Can we not just find anyone who offers a diminishing partnership contract and purchase from them? Okay, like I think we have 2 questions here. When it comes to Islamic finance, let's assume that you're talking about a genuine, sound, reasonable Islamic finance option. You are not talking about La Riba you are not talking about ijara loan. I mean, those are not an option. Just make sure that you put them aside. Do not consider them. If you excuse me. If you want to finance with a real genuine Islamic mortgage company, I would say even if their customer service is not as good as other conventional banks and mortgage companies, you should be tolerating, you should be patient enough, because at the end of the day you want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you want to make sure that you do not commit one of the 7 major destructive sins, which is getting involved in riba. So if I'm in your position, I would just just take it easy and be as patient as possible and proceed with the Islamic option instead of like falling in riba. Now the second part of the question, can we not just find anyone who offers a diminishing partnership contract and purchase from them? If you can find any and you are positive that the contract is a Sharia compliant one, then definitely go for it. I mean, you do not have to limit yourself to those Islamic mortgage companies. If one of your community members, for example, is interested in investing money, and you can develop with him a murabaha contract or ijara contract or diminishing partnership contract, so you finance your house through him or her. He buys the house for $100,000. He closes on it. He becomes the owner, and then he sells it back to you in installment for 10, 15 years for 200, 250, whatever the deal might be. That would be a wonderful option. And the matter of fact, it's even less complicated than going through the Islamic mortgage companies. So I would highly recommend considering that. Personally, in Guidance College, the small university that I'm leading, we do have our own personal experience. We did actually bring some investors who bought houses like small condominiums, apartments for Guidance College for investment purposes on a murabaha way. So one of our investors bought 2 apartments for $100,000, okay, and then sold them back to us for $125,000 for 5 years. So it's a win-win situation. We became the owner as Guidance College. We rented those apartments. We made some money. We paid off the price and the profit, and not, of course, not the interest. And after a few years, we just sold the apartments and we made money. So it is doable. I mean those Islamic modes of finance, whether ijara or murabaha or diminishing partnership, they do not have to be done. They do not have to be done through banks. I mean, you can do them just individually. You can activate those Islamic modes of finance within your like local community. So I would highly recommend, if you can stay away from banks and just find someone who is wealthy, who is willing enough to finance a house for you, go for it. Next question. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. What is your opinion on the UIF? UIF means University Islamic Financial in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Musharaka contract. At the time, AMJA reviewed guidance and UIF did not have a musharaka option, but they do now. Has AMJA reviewed it as well? On behalf of AMJA, I would say that no, we did not. I mean, this new contract, this musharaka or diminishing partnership contract of UIF was not, brought to our attention as a fiqh council. However, on a personal level, I was informed by some community members that UIF has developed a new mode of finance, which is a musharaka one, like diminishing partnership. And it was brought to my attention as well that UIF does not close on that house or does not put its name as an owner. So there is no closing, okay, under the name of UIF. They do not become the owner of the house jointly with the client. If that is authentic and proven, then the musharaka one actually is not a valid one. The musharaka one is not a valid one. We have to make sure, because musharaka means partnership. If you are my partner, if if you are willing to join me in owning a house, okay, 10% from my side, 90% from your side. We have to make sure that your name and my name are written on the deed of trust, on the title, as owners. Okay, I'm the owner of 10%. You are the owner of 90%, and consequently, you have to share with me any tax, any expenses, any insurance, any maintenance proportionally. You pay 90% of the tax. I pay 10% of the tax. Okay. If there is any appreciation or depreciation in the market value of the house, I have to be entitled to 10% of that appreciation or depreciation, and you are entitled to the 90% of the appreciation and depreciation. Any kind of circumventing the rules, coming up with some fatwa that the owner does not have to show his name on the title, this is against the principles and the spirit of Islamic finance. We have to make sure that the company UIF here is assuming a genuine and real ownership. They are fully responsible for the maintenance, for the tax, for the insurance, okay, proportionally based on their percentage of equity or ownership. If they got a fatwa from right or from left showing them to, okay, forget about putting your name, give a wakala or proxy or power of attorney to your customer to close on the house under his name on your behalf. This actually, with all due respect, makes no sense. And we are just converting the Islamic finance to be a traditional, regular finance. At the end of the day, if you go with this approach, UIF will not be taking any responsibility, any risk whatsoever. And the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, Al-Kharaju bil-Daman. Profit follows liability. If the UIF wants to make money, then they have to be liable for the property that they buy jointly with their customer. And then after that, they can sell whatever they want, or they can rent or lease whatever they want to their customer. But not to have their name on the title from day one and to tell me that this is a musharaka. With all due respect, this is not a musharaka. This is just a trick or a way to circumvent the rules. And if that is the case, if their name is not on the title, then the whole musharaka actually is not a valid, is not a Sharia compliant one. Okay, is it halal to invest in stocks? And the following question, how can Muslims invest in the stock market in a halal way? And the third question, I always hear about making sure the companies you invest in the stock market should be halal, but how does an average person make that determination? Is it just looking at the company and saying their primary business model does not rely on selling alcohol, so it should be fine? Or is there a deeper look that needs to be taken? Well, there is a deeper look to be taken. Yes, when it comes to investing in the stock market, there are different things actually to be taken into consideration. And by the way, I'm the Sharia advisor of more than one investment company or mutual fund company here in the US. And subhanAllah, each company has its own model or own way of scrutinizing the stocks and coming up with their own list of halal stocks. They follow like a very complicated, very sophisticated, procedure to filterize the options. They start with maybe 10,000 option or stock or financial instrument in the stock market, and they go all the way down to 500 or even 400. Those are the most halal, acceptable, permissible, stocks to deal with. There is a checklist. That checklist is that number one, you have to make sure that the core business, the main business of that company, is a halal one. So if the company is a winery, for example, or a finance company like a conventional bank or mortgage company or credit card company, or it is something related to tobacco, for example, manufacturing, or adult entertainment, right? Or anything that is well known to be haram, then this is not an option. So this is, check number one, the core business of the company. Now, number two, which is the fact that you have to dig in depth now, even if the core business of the company, say for example Apple or soft or Microsoft, right? Even if the core business, or even like Shell or ExxonMobil, even if the core business of that company is halal, this does not mean that that particular stock is halal by default. No. We need to figure out exactly how much is the percentage of the debt involved in. In other words, money here in the US in the industry is very cheap. Companies prefer to preserve their own money and just go to the closest bank and borrow money with interest. They take a business loan for only 3 or 4% interest, right? And they conduct business. They make 10-15% profit. They pay off the loan and its interest, and they keep the rest for themselves. Some companies actually take this trend to the extreme. They just keep borrowing and borrowing and borrowing, so much so that a certain stock in the market might reflect maybe 40-50% cash money, debt, loans. Money has been taken from Chase and Bank of America, and 60% only actual tangible materials or products. If that is the case, then trading in that particular stock is not permissible, because you are trading money for money. You are trading money for money. So we need to check the debt asset ratio, they call it. The debt asset ratio. We need to check the haram investment, and the haram assets. Haram investment means how much interest they make out of opening, like, certified deposit or saving account. Because again, those companies put their reserve in what they call it, in saving accounts, and they make interest out of it. How much interest they generate, we do not know. We need to find out. So debt asset ratio, number one, the core business of the company. Number two, the debt asset ratio. Number three, the haram investment. And number four, the haram asset. The haram investment is how much interest they generate out of opening saving accounts. Now, haram assets means how big is the percentage of the haram products they offer. Take for example, Walmart. Walmart is a retail store, right? You can buy everything, okay, with very few exceptions. Now, how much Walmart makes money from the liquor department and from the pork products that they have, I do not know, but actually they do make money. Are we talking about 1 or 2% of the net profit, or it is 30 or 40%? We do not know. So we need to dig in depth and find out. Okay. Let me just repeat them again. You need to check the core business of the company, number one, and number two, debt asset ratio. Number three, haram investment. Number four, haram assets, and number five, I forgot it. Okay, can you remind me, Abdul Rahman? The core business, debt asset ratio, haram investment, haram asset, and number five, subhanAllah, I forgot.
Was there a fifth one?
Maybe only four. I don't know.
You had mentioned only four.
So there should be four, yeah. Now, how to find out? Of course, an average person cannot, figure out exactly those different figures and different percentage of haram, whether coming from investment or from assets or from debt asset ratio. You can open an investment account with any of those socially responsible mutual fund companies. Alhamdulillah, we have a lot in the US, providing that claiming to be Sharia compliant or socially responsible mutual fund company does not mean that their claim, with all due respect, is correct 100%. Because we as investors, okay, as common individuals, we do not have an access to their records. We do not know what kind of financial instruments they invest in. So you need to make sure that, whatever company you feel comfortable investing money with, that it does have at least a Sharia advisory board who is heavily involved in scrutinizing and checking, the actual performance of those companies. And that Sharia advisory board is an independent one. Okay, alhamdulillah, we do have some in the US. And as I said, alhamdulillah, I'm a Sharia advisor in more than one investment company here. And each one of them has its own way of scrutinizing and finding out what's halal and what's haram to invest in. You can open an individual retirement account, individual IRA, individual retirement account. You can open a brokerage account, for example, simple investment account, right? Make sure that you open that account with well-recognized, well-established, Sharia-compliant mutual fund or investment company, and they will do the job on your behalf. They will do their own investigation, their own analysis, and just come up with a portfolio for investment that is Sharia compliant enough for you to invest
in. To follow up on that, I just wanted to ask, are there any specific companies that you would recommend for people who are looking to get started in investing?
I know for a fact that the companies I supervise are Sharia compliant one. So if you want the company to take over your money and to invest in your behalf, so you deposit money and they invest your money, then you can go with Zaki Financial, ZAKI, Zaki Financial LLC. I'm the Sharia advisor of this company. If you want to keep your money under your own custody, you do not want the company to take over your money and to invest on your behalf. If you want just to subscribe to a company who operates as a consultant for you, they give you just a recommendation. Go ahead and buy XYZ stock, sell ABC stock. They just give you a recommendation, and at the end of the day, it's your decision either to take the recommendation or not. Then you can go with Atina, Tina, okay, AATINAA, Atina. Yeah, Atina Enterprise. You can Google it. This company actually operates as a consultant. They do not take custody of your money. You just subscribe with them. They have like a really sophisticated process of scrutinizing and filterizing different options in the stock market. And they just send you a recommendation by text or by email. We recommend that you buy this or you sell this. At the end of the day, you make your own decision. What's good about this company is that they, again, number one, they do not take custody of your money. Number two, they do the homework on your behalf. They do their own analysis, their own study, and they just send you, the outcome result. This is what you recommend for you for today, to buy this stock or to sell this stock, right? And you are fully responsible for your own decision. They do not act on your behalf. They just give you some instructions, and at the end of the day, it's your decision. Okay, assalamu alaikum. With the universities being so expensive, how do you recommend the person paying them off? Everyone says get scholarships, but those are not available or are not granted to everyone out there. I'm afraid of not being able to continue or do my education without taking out loans. And as you know, loans usually contain interest. JazakAllah Khairan. Okay. Our Fiqh Council did discuss the student loans in the US, and briefly, student loans are of two different kinds. There is a subsidized student loans and unsubsidized student loans. Each one of them has its own ruling. In AMJA declaration, official position, we said that even before entertaining the idea with our kids or our students on taking loans, we should encourage them, we should support them, looking for different funding opportunities who are halal by default. We have a lot of scholarships and financial aids and grants and work study. So you as a student, before you even entertain the idea of borrowing money? Did you do your best going after those different scholarship opportunities? Did you apply for TAFSA, for FASCA, for like different opportunities here? As I said, there are a lot of scholarships, a lot of financial aid opportunities, grants, work study when you work like for the department that you are majoring in. If none of the above is available or insufficient, then you may take a subsidized loan. Subsidized loan is an interest-free loan for a certain period of time, granted based on financial ability, which means that you need to prove that you are financially challenged, okay, in order for you to be able to get a student loan, I mean the subsidized one. And this is for undergraduate students, not for graduate students, to my knowledge. This is an interest-free loan, which means that during your 4 years undergrad study, you can just keep borrowing money, and you are not required to pay off any of the money that you borrow. However, within the next within 6 months up to 9 months, sometimes if you're a graduation, you are required to pay off the loan in full. Okay, in the real life, I would say more than 90% of our students, default in paying the student loan after their graduation, because by the time you graduate, you will be already borrowing maybe $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, and it's close to impossible to find a job and to save $30,000, $40,000 and to pay them off. So you're going to end up paying interest anyway. But the default rule is that again, if you need, if the scholarships, financial aid, grants, what do you call it, work study are not available or insufficient, then you can take a subsidized loan. Do your best to pay off the loan as soon as possible to avoid interest. The debatable one here is not the subsidized loan, is the unsubsidized loan. Unsubsidized loan is an interest-bearing loan from day one, and it's not granted based on financial ability. Anyone can apply for it. Okay, undergrad, graduate students, regardless of your level, whether you are like doing your master's or PhD or postdoctoral degree or MD or whatever the level of education might be, it's an interest-bearing loan. And when we discussed this issue in our fiqh council, we said that it makes no sense whatsoever that Muslims across the globe come to the US, migrate to the US, invest tens of thousands of dollars, if not even hundreds of thousands, for education purposes, and they go back home, getting like, very good, paid jobs because of being US graduates, while Muslims living in the USA, American Muslims, are deprived from getting their education because of the high cost. That makes no sense. How comes that everybody in the world is okay to come to the US and study, while American Muslims who are living in the US are deprived from having their higher education because of the funding issue? So the conclusion is that, according to MJ again, if none of the above options are available or insufficient, including the subsidized loan, then taking an unsubsidized loan would be permitted as a kind of necessity. Higher education is not a necessity. It's not. It's a legitimate and desperate need. But that need of higher education cannot be fulfilled in certain cases without borrowing money with interest. So borrowing money to fulfill that need would become a necessity. And the definition of necessity here is that ما يلحق المكلف ضرر بتركه ولا يقوم غيره مقامه. It's all about the alternative. Okay, it is الضرورة, necessity is an irreplaceable matter that lacking it causes harm to the Muslim. Okay, Again, higher education is not technically, is not a necessity. We can survive without higher education, but higher education is a legitimate need, is a public, general, legitimate need for Muslims in the US. If that need cannot be fulfilled without borrowing money with interest, and this is the only option for you to proceed with your study, then you can borrow money with interest, because borrowing here is a kind of necessity. You cannot apply this rule on mortgaging a house, for example, because the alternative is there. If you cannot buy a house, you can rent a house. But if you cannot find money for education, you will be out of your college or university. So because of lacking an alternative here, borrowing money with interest would become a darura. And again, this is the official position of AMJA, and I 100% support that position, that borrowing money with interest for education purposes, any level of education, if it is the only option for a Muslim student, then borrowing money with interest would become permissible as an exception, not as a default rule.
JazakAllah Khairan.
It's 7:05 and we are done with the last question. I think we
I had actually a couple other questions if you have a couple minutes.
Absolutely.
So this one ties back to the stock market and investing. There's an app or a company called Zoya Financial. I don't know if you have heard of them, but what is your opinion of their Sharia advice when it comes to investing?
والله أخي يعني I cannot give an answer without studying their model, without having an access, to their performance. What do they do? How do they scrutinize and filterize, different options in the stock market? Who's in charge in the company? How qualified, how experienced those people are? Honestly, I have no idea. So my answer is that I do not know about this company.
Okay.
When I say I do not know, it doesn't mean that I disapprove them, but it does not mean that I do approve them. I do not know.
Their advisor right now, Sharia advisor, is Sheikh Joe Bradford, but I'm not sure, as you said.
Wallah, you can go ahead and just ask him, ask Sheikh Joe Bradford, and verify with him. Like if you ask me about Zaki Financial, I can answer you because I'm the Sharia advisor of this company. If you ask me about Atina, I can answer you, confidently. I know exactly what they do, so I can recommend this company for Muslim investors. But other than that, honestly, I do not know. ما شهدنا إلا بما علمنا وما كنا للغيب حافظين, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. Without seeing documents and records and data, I cannot answer.
Okay. So I don't see any questions from anybody in attendance. So I have one final question. So is it allowed to earn points on credit cards, where the more money you spend, the more points you earn that can be converted to cash or other rewards?
Yes, you can do that, because this is the opposite of interest. Like when you keep using a certain credit card, you earn points, and those points can be like converted to cash money, right? Yeah. So you end up borrowing $100 and paying it back only 95 because of the cash that you earn, right? So instead of paying in full, you pay less. If you borrow 100 and you pay it 105, then that's haram. But if you borrow 100 and you pay it 95, then that's halal, because the one who is benefiting from the loan is not the lender, it is the borrower. So that's completely the opposite of riba, thus is allowed.